Now to Nigeria, where there's growing unrest just over a week before 93 million voters are due to choose their next president. A cash shortage brought on by the government's decision to redesign the local currency in an effort to curb vote buying has led to angry protests. When first elected, President Buhari promised to reduce poverty and tackle insecurity, particularly in the north of the country, where the Islamist insurgent group Boko Haram has been active for over a decade. Our correspondent Mayani Jones travelled across northern Nigeria, President Buhari's stronghold, to gauge the mood there ahead of next week.
Venting their frustration. After weeks of struggling to get cash, protesters started attacking banks this week. It's election season in Nigeria, and as more than half of registered voters live in the north, I travelled across the region to understand how people feel here. As soon as we get to a bank in the city of Kano, we're surrounded by people desperate to share their difficulties.
We are now in a critical condition. When you don't have money to spend, to eat, to do anything can happen.
Some of them are hungry. As a result of that, they will do whatever they want. They can kill, they can beat, they can do whatever violence.
In a neighbouring market, wholesaler Mukhtar gets his millet from Borno State, which has been racked by insecurity for years, mainly due to the Islamist militant group Boko Haram. He says even at the height of the violence there, business wasn't this bad.
We are not happy for this, sincerely speaking. We will know what everything is going up, taxation, anything is bad.
President Buhari vowed to reduce economic hardship and insecurity, but food prices have skyrocketed and security is still a problem. These bags of grain from the World Food Programme, a lifeline for many here, only make it to their destination thanks to an armed escort. It's not easy to come here to the far north of Nigeria. The authorities have pushed back the Islamist groups, but a lot of the region is still inaccessible.
There's no doubt that travelling across a lot of northern Nigeria is a lot safer than it was 80 years ago when President Buhari came into power. But the reality is a lot of roads in the region are still too dangerous to travel on, and that's why we have to fly over them by helicopter.
Still, the relative safety has allowed those like Rukaya, who fled the insurgents, to return home. She moved to neighbouring Niger in 2014, when her home in the border town of Damasak was under Boko Haram's control. It's one of the areas that have since been reclaimed by regional forces.
We wanted to come back here to our hometown, and we prayed daily for peace to return. I feel very happy coming back. You know, they say there is no place like home.
But most of the refugees who've returned to Nigeria are struggling to rebuild their lives. They can't move back to their villages and live in camps. The peace and prosperity promised 80 years ago is still a long way off. And with the current unrest threatening next week's polls, the future of Africa's most populous nation hangs in the balance. Mayani Jones, BBC News, Damasak.